Hi and welcome to my second video where I swatch my Sennelier colors. You can see my previous videos I tried to explain more about how I separate the colors and how I'm going to go about swatching them. So in this video I have several groups. I have paints that are made with one or two pigments and a brown pigment like this Chinese orange, olive green, brown pink and French ochre, and warm sepia and raw sepia. They are brown and black. I have one or two pigments and black pigments, and I have several here. And then the last group for this video is gonna be one or two pigments, black and white. So Sennelier offers these three grays. Yeah, we'll see how they look like. I'm starting here with this Chinese orange, and I read somewhere that this was Matisse's favorite color, and that's why it's included. It's a beautiful earthy orange. It's a bit opaque, but we'll see how they dry. I noticed with this Sennelier paints, a lot of them, they look opaque at first and then they dry slightly transparent or less opaque. And then of course the amount of paint I use changes the number of particles on the dark line, but the true transparent color I would say should leave no particles. And I'm sorry about the glare. I tried to tilt this. Here we go, that's much better. This is an olive green, and I realize I like this color. I'm not a green fan, as you probably heard me say in several videos, but recently I purchased an olive green from Winsor & Newton, and I quite liked it. This one is very bright. I would say it's closer to a sap green than an olive green. I would prefer my olive green to have more brown in it, but it's a pretty color. And at the end of my video, I'll try to compare these colors with other swatches I have from other brands, in case you cannot get Sennelier where you are, or it's too pricey. You can get, or you already have a lot of watercolors like I do, and I definitely don't need more. But yeah, here it is. This brown pink, of course, many YouTubers here that swatch Sennelier color explain about this color. Why is it called pink? It's a beautiful transparent, almost like a green gold, I would say. Yeah, but very interesting, the story of the different shades that Sennelier offer. This is a French ochre. What I've noticed overall, the biggest complaint with earth colors is the lack of diversity, or maybe some more specific properties. For example, Daniel Smith offers a wide range of earth colors with different properties, granulation, separation, different shades. And these are my two colors that are made with mixing brown and black. And I have a warm sepia here, which is very nice. It has like a chocolate color. I think the camera makes it look darker than it is in reality. But it's very nice and transparent. Since I paint mostly florals, I really don't know exactly what I'm gonna do with all the browns and the blacks. And I like to use a mix of complementary colors to create dark colors, but hopefully I'll try my hand at some landscapes. And I put a lot of this raw sepia here, which to me it almost, well, the camera definitely makes it look like it's a very black. It's like a warm black maybe. I try to spread it out so it doesn't stick if I get like a blob of paint when it dries it doesn't stick to the other page. Yeah, this is the colors. This is the first row. I'll let it dry a little bit, squeeze paint on the next row, and we'll see you here shortly. And this is my second row of color. I have here 1 or 2 pigments mixed with the pigment black, either PBK 7 or PBK 9. And just from the swatches you can see all of them look very dark. You can barely barely know what color they are, but add a little bit of water. And here it is. First here, Indigo. It's a beautiful dark blue. Here it is. Try to fight the glare. It's a mix of I want to say PBK 7, PB60, and it has a little bit of PB15:3. It has the blue-green shade that usually PB15:3 has. To me, Indigo, it's more of a violety blue, so this is a beautiful blue, more like a navy or a midnight blue I would call it, but that's very subjective. And next, the one I'm rewetting here now, it's a forest green, and a lot of people think of this as like a perylene green. I touched it a little bit, but to me it's more like a phthalo green mixed with black. It's just a dark color. It has more warmth than a perylene green. I always think of perylene green more like of a gray green that's very dark. And of course I use a lot of water, so here you see a very diluted representation. Next is Spain Gray, and this is a beautiful color. I want to say it has a violet pigment. I can check in 1 second. I have the box next to me, and I'm not a biggest expert in Payne's Gray. I don't think I have I might have the one from Winsor & Newton, but I think I'm wrong. This might be the first Payne's Gray that I purchased, and I see why people like it. Of course, if I know it varies a lot from brand to brand. Dr. Otokano has a video where she explores different Payne's Gray, and you can see there comparing from different brands which one is your favorite, or what do you consider a Payne's Gray, I want to say. And this is a neutral tint, and I know I have several neutral tints, but this might be my favorite so far because it's a dark violet. It almost reminds me of the shade. I'm so fascinated with it. Purpurite Genuine? Yes, but this has a more uniform, less granulating formula. And next, and because of my tripod is kind of in an odd place, these colors are gonna be here in this corner. Dyke Brown, very nice reddish brown, opaque. I don't know why I thought Dyke Brown, it's a very dark brown, almost like a sepia, but this is what Sennelier thinks of when he thinks Dyke Brown, and definitely this is a very, very opaque color. You can barely see the line I drew there with a Sharpie. And of course, once they dry, I can bring them closer to the camera and we can look more in detail. And this is a transparent brown. It's a very interesting shade. It has a certain warmth to it, almost like a yellow undertone. I even like the diluted. It reminds me of some sort of murky yellow ochre, but yeah, pretty colors. I'll let them dry and we'll look at them closely. And this is the last row from our paints that are made by mixing different pigments. And part of the 1 and 2 pigments mixed with black, I have the greenish umber and the lamp black. So now that I'm swatching this greenish umber, maybe this one is the one that it's kind of a replacement or a substitute for a perling green. And definitely has that blue-green shade. And once it's dried, we could look at it a little better. And I have a perling green from Da Vinci I would compare it with. And this is a lamp black. Very close in hue with the raw sepia. I didn't use a lot of color, but it's nice, transparent. It has some yellow mixed in it, so I don't know exactly how I'm gonna use it, but it's here. And this warm gray, and the grays all have white and black mixed in them, and different pigments to give them different hues. I think the warm gray has some yellow mixed in it, some red. It's almost like a non-granulating version of Daniel Smith buff titanium. And the Sennelier gray, very nice, kind of like a blue-green hue to it. And all of these grays are gonna be, because of the white pigment, they're not gonna be transparent, semi-transparent or semi-opaque, depending how you want to look at it. And this light gray, very pretty, almost like a blue violet gray. Yeah, this is a very nice color. If we have a little bit more red, I almost call it a lavender. Yes, but these are the colors from the Sennelier 98 set. I'm gonna let this dry, grab some swatches and compare and show you how they look. So the swatches are mostly dry, but I didn't have any more patience to wait for them to dry completely. I just wanted to show you all the interesting finds that I was able to pull together. So this is the Chinese orange from Sennelier, and next to it is the transparent powder orange from Core, and they are very similar in hue. The Chinese orange, it's a little bit more earthy, but if you have the Core orange, which I know is probably the hardest one to pick up, hue very close. So if you have the transparent orange, maybe just a little bit of yellow ochre or something to dull down this brilliant color, and you'll have this beautiful Chinese orange. I want to make sure I'm still in frame. Olive green, as I mentioned, I had the olive green from Winsor & Newton, and compared to the Sennelier, the Winsor & Newton is slightly grayish, less warm, less yellow, both pretty. Still not quite what I envisioned for an olive green. I wanted something even more brown, rich. We'll see if there will be another green in this line that it's my idea of olive green, which yeah. Brown, pink, and French ochre. So I have two colors here. Yellow ochre from Daniel Smith, which is the first yellow ochre I ever bought, and then the green gold from Core. I have green gold from Da Vinci, but I thought that this one is a little bit more rich, more yellow. It's very close to the brown pink, especially more diluted Of course, core can be very intense, very pigmented. And then yellow, French ochre and yellow ochre. Yeah, I think if you mix the green gold and the yellow ochre, you would get something like a French ochre. It's a very particular ochre, more like a gold ochre. But I didn't the one from Da Vinci that I have, it's slightly more yellow, but that's yeah, that's French ochre. Very nice color. It almost reminds me of a quinacridone gold without that brownish mass tone. So moving on, warm sepia. I don't have a large brown collection, but maybe this raw umber can give you an idea. This is the raw umber from Da Vinci, similar in hue, and then this raw sepia, very similar to the lamp black. To me, I wouldn't even consider getting both of them. Yeah, nothing too spectacular. Here we go, moving on to indigo. It's a very nice indigo. It's very similar to Winsor & Newton indigo. I believe they have similar pigments. Of course, this swatch I didn't put enough color, so it looks a little pale, but that's how it looks like. And to me, the ultimate indigo, or what I think of when I think of indigo, is this Daniel Smith. So yeah, nothing like it. Totally different hue. What I've noticed, this light gray from Sennelier, it's almost identical to this indigo from Daniel Smith. Of course, in this swatch I do not have a mass tone. This color is very diluted, but hue wise, light gray from Sennelier, very, very similar. Forest green and the greenish umber. I have here the perylene green from Da Vinci, and also this swatch, it doesn't reflect the mass tone, but the hue, it's very similar to this greenish umber. This is the only perylene green I have. I wish I had the Daniel Smith to give it a fair comparison. And the forest green, much warmer, much greener. Actually, the jadeite genuine is very similar in hue, but of course Daniel Smith color has the granulation, this interesting separation, this one being a genuine pigment. And the forest green, although it has some separation, I think it's probably mostly me using a lot of water. And Payne's Gray, I do have a Payne's Gray from Core, which is very similar in hue to the one from Sennelier. Of course, in this swatch I managed to make a nice gradation here. I was kind of in a hurry. And also the neutral tint for Winsor & Newton looks very similar. And since neutral tint is right next to it, the one from Sennelier looks almost like Shadow Violet from Daniel Smith. That has that violet-y color. So neutral tint can vary a lot in hue. I have here 4 of them right now. Actually, oh, this is Shadow Violet. The Sennelier one, it's in the notebook. The Winsor & Newton, the Daniel Smith, and the Core neutral tint is actually identical to this Sennelier gray. And I wish I had a transparency for this Core. I think this one is more transparent, but hue wise, yes, look at that, almost spot on. And the camera makes this Core one a little bit more bluish, but in reality they're very, very close. Probably Sennelier gray slightly more green. But yeah, neutral tint is one of those colors you have to try, figure out what you want. And then I have a Van Dyke Brown, and when people mention Van Dyke Brown, they have different ideas of what this color means. For example, Core, it's a warm brown, and Sennelier uses almost like a Venetian red, I would say. It does have PR 101 in it. Let me get on camera here. It's almost similar in hue with a Piemontite Genuine from Daniel Smith. It has that reddish brown and slightly dark. I think the black they use for this Van Dyke Brown is separating. And the Piemontite Genuine does a similar thing. It has some black granulation and that desaturated red background. Transparent brown. Yeah, I'm not much of a brown collector. Maybe like this raw umber, but more brown. And last but not least, buff titanium and warm gray. And this is not even dry yet. Warm gray, it's definitely much darker and has a grayer look to it. And it does even have the opacity. It doesn't granulate. Maybe here because I use a lot of water, you can see some areas where the pigment settled a little odd. But this is kind of the idea of this warm gray. So these are the mixing pigments. The paints that have more than one pigment black and white and brown. Next it's gonna be the single pigment from Sennelier, so stay tuned for more colors.